Sefer Mishlei, Perek Chav Daled, chapter 24, the beginning of the chapter. In this Perek you will hear some familiar ideas that he's mentioned in the past, and as I've explained earlier, anytime he repeats himself, it's for greater emphasis, or he wants to add some additional information. And many of these ideas deal with having the right hashkafa, the proper outlook, proper attitude towards individuals, towards people. We shouldn't misunderstand what we see. We shouldn't interpret it wrongly. So he begins with Pasuk Aleph as follows: Al tekaneh be'anshe ra'ah ve'al tit'av liyot itam. Do not envy men of evil and do not desire to be with them. The end of the last Perek, he spoke about the dangers of znut, of harlotry, I guess, those who fall in the trap of the zonah, of excess of wine, what that could lead to. That is how we finished chapter 23, the problems associated with the wine and with znut. And now he goes on to say that there are also dangers associated with certain individuals who pretend to be good, that on the surface appear to be normal. The problem is, however, that they possess midot megunot. Their character, their personality is corrupt. There's something rotten in their nature, which one may not see on the surface. It's not always visible. You have to get to know someone. Rabbis tell us, for example, you can get to know someone, a little bit at least, bekoso, bekiso, beka'aso. When he drinks, in his pocketbook, how he spends his money, what he buys, right? And when he gets angry. When the person gets angry, he loses control. Then he does things, he says things that he would not otherwise say it. He basically begins to reveal a part of his nature that may have been hidden. There are evil people out there. It's just a fact, and he will mention to this many, many times. Beware of them. These individuals, they have evil designs. Even though on the surface you may not see them doing something outwardly evil and wrong, but their whole intention, their whole approach is evil. And even if you see them being successful, success, he says, is not something to go by. Don't think that just because someone is successful in what he has done, that what he has done must be something good. That's not something to admire necessarily. We're talking about here materialistic success. First of all, it could be something wrong. How did he acquire the real estate? How did he acquire his wealth? Maybe it was not in a kosher way. There's no reason for you to be envious of him, first of all, because maybe it's not your mazal to be like him. That's first of all, even though he doesn't mean it over here. I'm just adding that it may not be your mazal to be like him, even if you were to do it right. Number two, it's very possible that what he did is not right. And if what he did was not right, you don't want to be like him. You don't want to have to do what he did to get where he got. Some people don't have a problem doing bad things. They just don't, it comes easy to them, it's natural to them. And some people, of course, shy away from it. They would never think of harming someone. There is an individual, for example, who, if he borrows money from others, he has to immediately pay it back as soon as possible. Astrologically speaking, there are certain signs who can't accept having had to receive a favor from someone. They are very appreciative of that, but they immediately try to return the favor or will try to avoid it at all cost. They don't want to have to come on to people. They're very gracious. They would lend of their money, they would help others, but to have to receive help from others, they'd rather not. Some people don't mind. And then there are others who actually love it, to take advantage of others. They invite themselves to people. They invite themselves. And you have the shy ones who don't want to even think about the idea of having to ask, would you want to have me over? If it comes from them, fine. But for you to ask, it takes a lot of guts. Depending what it is. To ask for a loan is even worse. It takes a lot more than just guts. So when Shlomo Melech tells us, Al tekaneh be'anshe ra'ah, you don't want to be like them. You don't want to stoop down to their level. You don't want to come to do what they do. Therefore, ve'al tit'av liyot itam, don't desire to be with them, to associate with them, to befriend them. Why? First of all, friends have a tremendous influence on one, and if they get caught and you are their friends, it has happened more than once that the police has gone after all their friends who appear in their mailing list. Perhaps they're guilty by association. So there are many reasons why you don't want to be associated with bad people. But here he doesn't talk about all the problems. He just basically says their success is not something to measure, something that you should go by to decide if it's good or not. Because that does not prove anything. The success of one does not prove anything, because it could have been done in a way that is not right. And to be jealous and to desire what others have is in itself not a good idea. But especially if it's be'anshei ra'ah, if these are people whose ideas are corrupt, who all they have in mind is to make money in illicit, illegal ways, you don't want to therefore aspire to become one of them. And in Pasuk Bet he explains a little bit more, he elaborates what these individuals have in mind, and these individuals exist out there at all times, in every country. Kishod yehegel libam ve'amal siftehem tedaberna. For their heart thinks of plunder and their lips speak of wrongdoing. If you would be able to be at their meetings, if you would be able to examine their hearts, you would see that that's all they're thinking about, is how to make another dollar, how to cheat someone else. There are individuals out there they're scheming. I guess that's a good word. They're scheming every day at how to take advantage of people, con artists and the like. And therefore, don't be misled to think that because they made it, that they must have done something right. No, these are bad people. Therefore, don't be their friends. Don't associate with them. Pasuk Gimel is a very important pasuk, even though it appears to be changing topics. It could also be related to what we just said. A house is built with wisdom and it is established with understanding. To build a home, the simple interpretation of this pasuk is to build a marriage, to build one's home, requires a lot of knowledge. It is not something that happens by itself. It would help if people would start out knowing a little bit of what it takes. After all, when you're going to build a physical home, you better know what you're doing. You build a foundation, you have to know what materials to use. It has to stand up to hurricanes if it's in hurricane location. There are many codes. For what purpose? So that this building, hopefully the structure should last, should be able to resist earthquakes and the like. That's a physical home. The more so, one's spiritual home, or one's family, one's marriage. It's not easy. It's not that one can just go in and everything will be alright. It takes chokhmah, he says. It takes knowledge. And he's going to explain that it's not just knowledge, it takes chokhmah, it takes tuvunah, and it takes da'at. And we're going to explain the difference between all three. Ordinarily, chokhmah just means the raw knowledge. Here it means the basics, the rules. And I've spoken about it before when we talked about marriage, relationships, how it would be very helpful for couples, for singles, to learn the basics, not just of Taharat HaMishpacha, of family purity laws, which is important for the Chatan and Kala, but also the basics of how to succeed as a couple. Some people have it easier than others. They don't have to know that much, because naturally they get along. Naturally they get along. Also, on top of that, they're both good people. They're both kind-hearted, or they're both easygoing. And guess what? There's less problems, automatically less problems. It's just if like I would to tell you, you know what? Go ahead and plant these beautiful tulips in Seattle, in a garden in Seattle. Do I have to tell you put in a sprinkler system there? Why not? You've been there? You've heard about it, no? It rains there most of the year, I think. That's why everything there is green. There's very little you need to do there. But if you were to plant the same tulips in Phoenix, I think you'd have a problem. Right? Even here, you need a little bit of rain, you need a little bit of water, extra water, to make it grow. It takes a certain amount of effort. Men and women, as it is, they speak a different language. They have different interests. So it takes some investment. You want it to succeed, you're going to have to do something. Sometimes it takes a lot to make it work. Sometimes it takes less. And that is what he's talking about here. B'chokhmah yibaneh bayit, it takes chokhmah, knowing the basics, having the knowledge of how to make it work. U'bitvunah yitkonan, and it is established with understanding. Understanding tvunah is a higher level than chokhmah. Chokhmah, bina, vadat, we say, right? In the prayer. Chokhmah, bina, vadat. Bina, understanding. After you have the chokhmah and you apply it, you take it one step further. You know how to use it in various situations that arise. There may be problems. You've learned all this chokhmah. Fine. Now you go about building your home. What if a problem arises that is not in the books? You weren't told about this problem. Okay, let me test you. What happens if a baby cries? What do you do? For those who have children, what are you going to do?
First you see if he has...
Baby is crying. What does it mean? Huh? Very good. It looks. I guess you had children. You remember, but it's been a while. You haven't forgotten, huh? Maybe it needs to burp. Exactly. Maybe that's all it is. That's all it is. Maybe it's colicky. Maybe you need to change the diaper. It's uncomfortable. Change position. Or it could be more a serious problem too, right? That's ubitvuna. When a problem arises, not necessarily with a child, but between a husband and wife, how do you deal with it? It takes tuvuna, hopefully a little bit of experience, a little bit of chokhmah, seeking the advice of others. You don't want to make a mistake. So bitvuna yitkonan. The word yitkonan means it will be established. When you built your home, but you want it to stay built. You want it to establish itself. You want it to be firm. It takes tuvuna. This pasuk could also be talking about the previous pasuk. In other words, there are a lot of individuals out there who want to make a fast buck through orma, through trickery. And he says the true way to build a home, a nest, to build one's wealth, one's fortune, is bichokhmah, not through orma, not through non-kosher ways, because those ways will not last. This is the way yitkonan, one's home, one's fortune, one's wealth could be established. If it's done bichokhmah u'bitvuna, yes.
When it comes to matter of chokhmah, just says we do everything according to the Torah.
Obviously, we're talking about according to the Torah. It has to be compatible with what the Torah says. And then he adds the next pasuk, besides chokhmah u'tvuna, then he adds b'da'at. U'v'da'at chadarim yimaleu kol hon yakar v'na'im. With knowledge, the rooms are filled with all riches, precious and pleasant. So he translates here chokhmah, wisdom, bina, understanding, and da'at is knowledge. That's, I guess, the only translation available. Da'at is something that you possess, something that you've acquired. After you know what you know, you've used it, you've acquired it. Acquired it means you've made it part of yourself. That means da'at. Da'at, the commentaries explain over here, also means midot tovot. Because midot tovot, good character, is something that you acquire. You're not necessarily born with it always, you acquire. You teach yourself, you train yourself. And if you have that, if you have all the good character, all the good nature, chadarim yimaleu kol hon yakar v'na'im, that is how you will fill the rooms with all the riches, precious and pleasant. In other words, that is the ultimate riches and wealth that one has, is when his home is a pleasant place. When he has a good relationship, when he has a pleasant home, that is worth more than all the riches. And that is true riches. That's what he calls riches. So in order for one to have that, it requires chokhmah, bina, vadat, how to deal with situations, how to go about building such a home. This should be a priority. But believe it or not, this is not a priority for many people. Their career is a priority. Their career for some reason is more of a priority than their marriage, than the raising of their children. This is the priority. The bait. When we wish hatam v'kala success, much luck, do we talk about their career? We're talking about the bait ne'eman b'Yisrael, just a beautiful Jewish home. That is where they should invest. The next pasuk, Gever Chacham Ba'oz Ve'ish Da'at Me'ametz Koach. A wise man is with strength, and a man of knowledge maintains strength. He's talking about the Chokhmah. He's saying the one who possesses Chokhmah, it's not just the raw, bare knowledge. That Chokhmah actually gives him strength. We're talking about the Chokhmah of the Torah, like you mentioned before. And that Chokhmah gives one strength in dealing with the Yetzer Hara. Ve'ish Da'at Me'ametz Koach, the same thing, a man of knowledge maintains strength, is that as a result of him studying regularly Torah, that he's able to control his Yetzer. An individual who works, and most of us work, right? He's not retired. Most of us work, and we go to the outside world, we're exposed to what is outside in the street, and there are many, many Yetzarim, even in this city of angels, right? There are many Yetzarim, many temptations. And if one does not defend himself, surround himself with Torah, he does not have the strength to be able to fight off the Yetzer. It's almost impossible. It's not human. It's almost impossible for one to not sin in some way if he does not have some Torah. The Torah is like recharging your spiritual batteries. Without having Kiviyut Yitim La Torah, it's almost impossible. And that is why when you're considering, if you're still single, if you're a woman, considering getting married, that should be in the top of the list of priorities of what to look for, what to desire at least. And that is somebody to whom Torah is very important, and who does so regularly, because hopefully that is what he will do after he gets married. If he doesn't spend enough time in Torah before he's married, then what is going to happen afterwards when he has more responsibilities? And don't just believe the promises that he will do so, depending what his priority is. And we cannot know what someone's priorities are unless we ask his friends, unless we see him in action, we see what he likes. Maybe he likes to gamble, maybe he likes to drink. You know, it's unfortunate for somebody to fall into that kind of a situation where his hopes or her hopes were one thing, and then they find out that it's totally the opposite. That this person is supposed to be a kind person, and they see just the opposite later on. That they are kind sometime. 29 out of 30 days, they're not. What good is it? So Gever Chacham Ba'oz, Shlomo Melech is telling us that this Chokhmah is not only giving you the Chokhmah, the know-how, it's also giving you Gburah, the strength to be able to resist the Yetzer Hara. It does not mean, and it does not guarantee, that one who has Torah will not fall to the Yetzer Hara. But it helps. It helps. And now we come to a very famous pasuk that you may have heard of, that is connected to this pasuk of Chokhmah and Gvura. And that is, Ki betachbulot ta'aseh lecha milchama u'tshu'a berov yo'et. For you shall wage war for yourself with strategies, and the victory results from the superiority of the counselor. In easier words, you need tahbulot, you need a strategy when you're going to do battle. We're talking about a battle that you know exists in advance. You're not just caught up in battle. So in order for you to win this war, in order for you to fight this war properly, you better go out with some strategy. And it would be a good idea, that you seek the advice and counsel of those who are experienced, with those who have done this before, those who are more familiar with this. You want to be as prepared as possible. Which battle are we talking about? So the commentaries tell us that we're talking about mainly the battle of the Yetzer Hara. Why is the battle of the Yetzer Hara something that requires so much of our attention, so much of our effort and strategy? Because it's a daily battle. Chachamim tell us this is a daily battle until the day we die. He doesn't retire. Even if you're 99, he's still there. Even a person who's 99 still has a Yetzer Hara. As I told you once, they asked an older guy who's in his late 80s, 88, 89, so Baruch Hashem, you don't have to worry about the Yetzer Hara. So he said, Ma pitom, I still have a Yetzer Hara, I just don't have the strength. And you understand what that means. In other words, that the ideas in the head are still there, just because he can't carry out and do what he used to do. Yes, when you were younger, it was harder to control yourself. But it doesn't mean that the Yetzer Hara completely disappears.
Rabbi, doesn't some tzaddikim overcome their Yetzer Hara? They don't have their Yetzer Hara anymore? Some tzaddikim?
The greatest tzaddikim, of course, they have defeated the Yetzer Hara so much that at that point the Yetzer Hara makes peace with them. He leaves them alone.
True, Rabbi?
Yes. On the contrary, according to the Kabbalah, there is a way you can tell if you have atoned or if you have perfected a particular area. If the Yetzer Hara does not bother you anymore about that area, if you still have thoughts invading your mind, regardless of what it is, people have different temptations and different weaknesses. If you still have to control yourself once in a while in a particular area, it is an indication that you have not completely conquered that Yetzer Hara. So that's what I meant by what I said before, that he makes peace with them, he doesn't bother them anymore, they don't think about it. But obviously, he's still lurking there, but he's not going to go after them. He's going to try to get them in some other area that they are weak. And the Yetzer Hara knows, after this man, I'm going to go with kavod. He loves kavod, honor. If you don't give him an aliyah, he's going to get upset. If you don't give him to read, if you don't give him this position, if you don't give him the honor, it's just going to drive him crazy. Some people have a big problem with kavod. Other people have a problem with money. Money. Every dollar is important to them. Every deal. And if you take away a deal from them and you give it to someone else, they won't forgive you for that. Whereas they have no bitachon, no emunah, that whatever is coming to you, you're going to get anyway. They have a problem with the yetzer of mammon. Other people have the problem with the yetzer of women. Other people have a problem with the yetzer of lashon hara. Other people have a problem with kas, anger. And the Yetzer knows, this guy gets angry, very quickly. And he just did a big mitzvah. Just a beautiful big mitzvah. So the Yetzer is jealous. As soon as he gets home, he's going to incite the man's wife to come after him and to upset him. And you know what that does? It takes away the credit for your mitzvah. It doesn't erase it completely, but it takes away a lot of the credit that you made. So the Yetzer knows. And he's working out there and getting every individual according to his weakness. So we need tahwulot. So with the Yetzer Hara, we also need strategies, because he tries to ambush us. He tries to get us. Rabbis tell us, just remember, the Yetzer Hara, melech zaken uchsil. He's an old king. And he's a fool. He's a fool. He's pretty smart. But what the rabbis meant is, you can get him too. That's what they meant. Don't think you can't get him. Don't think you cannot conquer him. Don't think you can't control him. You can fool him too.
The only antidote is the Torah, Rabbi. That's what us rabbis say. Hashem created, the Yetzer Hara created Torah as its antidote.
Right. That's what. Yeah. The Torah.
It's the only way to get it to sit down.
Yeah. They once asked a great rabbi, when he was already a great rabbi, tell us, when you were a young child, how did you deal with the Yetzer Hara? You never sinned. When you were a child under the age of bar mitzvah, how could you have defeated him? So he says like this: there's a rule that a judge is not allowed to hear one side without hearing the other side. If you're a judge and you're about to get a case, you can't have one individual tell you his side of the story without hearing the other side at the same time. They both have to be present. Otherwise you become influenced by the one side. Right? You have to have them both present. So this rabbi said, when I was young, I told the Yetzer Hara, listen, I can't listen to you. I have to wait till the Yetzer Tov arrives. And the Yetzer Tov is only arriving at the age of 13. In this way, I was always able to push him off. I can't only hear one side of the story. You're going to have to wait. Yeah, but people, of course, don't always weigh things properly. They don't listen to the Yetzer Tov for some reason. They go after the Yetzer Hara. So to fight off the Yetzer Hara, to deal with the Yetzer Hara, requires strategy, tahwulot. One has to prepare himself for this battle more than other battles, because this battle, as I said before, is constant, it's regular. And as the rabbis tell us in the Gemara, he wears a different uniform every day. He looks different every day. And therefore rabbis tell us, be careful, don't take credit. If you defeated him yesterday, don't take too much credit for that, because you may not be able to defeat him the next day. The circumstances may be different tomorrow. He looks different. He may appear one day one way, and the next day he'll appear some other way. It might be a deal involving money. He said, Baruch Hashem, I was able to resist the Yetzer, and I didn't accept the bribe. Comes along the Yetzer Hara and says, I know this guy likes money. But he just learned Mesilat Yesharim that morning, or whatever it is, and he was able to resist the pressure of the bribe. What does he do the next day? Either he offers him a bigger bribe. It's a bigger bribe this time, but it doesn't look like a bribe. The man comes and says, you know what? If you lend me this money, I will do this for you. And it's not with money. It's some other favor. Either way, it's a form of bribe. The Yetzer looks for all sorts of ways, and if one is not careful, does not examine the halacha, just assumes it might be okay, he may make a big mistake. Why? Because Adam karov latzmo, Adam nogea. If there's a negiut, if there's a certain bias, there's no impartiality here, right? A person may fall. This pasuk, Tachbulot, Ta'aselecha Melchama, the rabbis tell us in Midrash, is talking about, especially, it's about 3 individuals who were able to defeat the Yetzer Hara by swearing. They made a shivua. It was so powerful that in order to defeat the Yetzer Hara at that moment, they swore that I will not do it. Who were the 3? Yosef. Yosef had to swear to his Yetzer, I'm not going to do it. With the incident with the Eshet Potiphar. The next one was David. David HaMelech could have easily killed Shaul. But the rabbi tells the Midrash that he swore not to touch him. Mashiach Hashem. He's the anointed of Hashem. And he had to warn those with him, don't you dare touch him. Even though he took away the dagger of Shaul and the water, to prove that he was there very close to him and that he didn't dare touch him. But he had to hold himself back because this man was after him. So he could defend himself. No. He had to swear to control his Yetzer. And then you have the third individual, Boaz, with Ruth, a Moaviyah, when she slept that night very close to him. She was single, and he was single. He was looking to get married, and she was looking, of course, to get married. And he didn't touch her until the morning when he was able to find out, perhaps there's somebody else that's a closer relative, that somebody else should marry her. And if not, he was going to do the mitzvah. But otherwise, there's always a Yetzer. So he had to swear that he won't touch her. So sometimes that's what you need. I'm not saying that you should swear, but sometimes it may be necessary to run away from a situation, to not put yourself in a situation which you may not be able to control. It requires tachbulot, it requires strategy, it requires a lot of strength, and obviously if one has Torah, he has a better chance. This pasuk also has something to do with the home, one's home. What do we say about the home before? In order to build a home properly, you need chokhmah, tmunah, and dat. Now he says, in talking about that home, not only about the Yetzer, ki betachbulot ta'aselecha milchama. You may have to defend this home with strategy. In other words, let's say you've done everything right till now. You've built it up, you followed instructions, you have a beautiful home. Do you know that there are influences out there that can destroy this home? You've put in so much effort, and you've succeeded to build yourself a beautiful home. Imagine a woman who went to Bet Yaakov, who studied halachot, is God-fearing, did everything right, learned musar, participated in shiurim, builds up a beautiful home, has beautiful children. Everything going so far so good, right? Everything was done by the books. Somehow, a man approached her, a Jewish man of course, and had a nice conversation with her. It was very nice to her. And at some point, a couple weeks later or a couple months later, they had an affair. She's a married woman. A beautiful home has just been destroyed. Have you heard of similar stories like that? Unfortunately, it could be the other way around too, where the man made a mistake. We can all make mistakes, Chas v'Shalom. Because some mistakes are very expensive, that you can never repair. The example given on that pasuk is one who brings a mamzer into this world. It's done. What are you going to do now? There's some things that you can cover up, some things you can forgive and forget, but some things that are difficult to repair. As you know, it's a lot more sensitive with a Kohen than with an ordinary Israel or Levi. So it requires tahbulot to save the home, to protect the home from outside, from all these influences trying to break up an otherwise successful home. Alright, next pasuk. Ramot le'evil chokhmot b'sha'ar lo yiftach pihu. Wisdom is, he says, as pearls, but they're not pearls. Ramot are precious stones that are very difficult to find. Ramot le'evil chokhmot. To the fool, wisdom is like those precious stones, something very difficult to acquire. He therefore gives up, he doesn't even attempt. Bashar lo yiftach piu, in the gate he will not open his mouth. He comes to a bet midrash, the fool. This is the attitude of the fool. And he sees all these books. He says, when will I be able to learn all this Gemara, all this Chumash, all this Halacha? The Chacham begins with one chapter today, another chapter tomorrow. And little by little he accumulates all this Chokhmah. But the fool does not have the right attitude. The problem with the fool, it's not just an attitude. If that's all it would be, then he would hopefully learn quickly to change his attitude. The problem here is, he's talking about here Ramot Le'evil. He doesn't even say Ksil. Le'evil, Evil is much more than a fool. He's not a good person. He would probably go out of his way to fetch something that was difficult to acquire, if it was something materialistic, if it was to his benefit. He would do whatever he can to acquire it. Some people are hypocrites. When it comes to their personal gain, material gain, they all of a sudden wake up early and do whatever it takes to get there. But when it comes to getting up for a minyan, for learning Torah, going to shiur, it's so difficult. I'm so tired. I don't have time for this. But you have time for everything else. You have time to read the LA Times. You have time to watch the news on TV. You have time to go on the internet. For all that, you have time. For all that, and that takes effort too. So that's why he calls him a nevil. To him, it's like a ramot. All the chokhmah is to him like something so far-fetched, something so difficult. But in reality, this is just an excuse. There's a nice mashal, Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yanai says, what is this compared to? A fool sees a loaf of bread hanging up high in the air. And he says, how am I going to bring this down? The Chacham says, wait a minute, somebody put it up there. If somebody put it up there, that means I can also get it down from there. Get a ladder and climb. Right? So it depends how you look at it. If you think a little bit more into it, you'll see that it's not so difficult after all. There has to be a will first, a desire, an interest. Next pasuk, Mechashev le'are'a lo bal mezimot yikra'u. He who plots to do evil is called a man of wicked designs. Commentaries tell us that we're talking about the hypocrite here, who all he has in his mind are evil designs or evil plots. Even though it's in his heart and nobody sees him, in the end, Baal Mezimot Yikra'u, they will find him out. He will be discovered. That's one interpretation over here. That one who has these ideas in his mind, these evil designs, will be discovered. A person cannot remain a hypocrite for too long. Echad balev, echad bapeh. People will find him out. Another interpretation that is also true, even though I don't think that's a simple interpretation, is that mechashev le'are'a lo bal mezimot yikra'u, that the evil before, the one we spoke about, the fool, who doesn't look up to wisdom and to knowledgeable people, he does look up to bal mezimot. To him, who is a chacham? This individual who was able to fool the government, who was able to fool somebody else. He looks up to the bal mezimot. Oh, he's a chacham. He was able to get away with it. He did something not right, and he didn't catch him. In other words, so the fools look up to the wrong people. To him, a bal mezimot is a chacham. Next pasuk, zimat ivelet chatat v'to'avat le'adam let. The counsel of folly is sin, and what makes man an abomination is scorn. One interpretation here is zimat ivelet chatat, that when one commits an avera, a chatat, that comes from ivelet, it comes from folly. One does not do an avera out of chokhmah. He really thought about it. As the rabbis tell us, en adam over avera ela im ken nichnas bo ruach shtut. For a person to have committed an avera, what's an avera? Transgression against Hashem. It's an open rebellion against God, who said no. How could a person commit an avera ever? It comes from shtut. He did not think things clearly. What is he thinking? So I once explained, he must be thinking he can get away with it. What else is he thinking? Or it's not so bad. Or it's okay, Hashem will forgive me. It's all shtut. It's all folly. It's nonsense. He's not thinking clearly. So that's one interpretation of the word zimat ivelet hatat. The hatat of zima is from ivelet. It comes from ivelet, from folly. The to'avat le'adam let. One interpretation of that is the clown or the mocker, the scorner, thinks people like him. But in reality, people do not like the scorner. He's not well liked. There's some saying, I forget how it goes, if the clowns or the scorners would only really know what people think of them, they wouldn't do what they do. But they think that people, because they smile, they laugh, that they really like them. He's reminding the scorner, that don't think people like you. On the contrary, people despise you. Another interpretation of Zimat Ivelet Hatat is that giving bad advice, Zimat from Mezimot, giving bad advice is also a sin. Advising others to do the wrong thing. Not only you doing it, but giving others the wrong advice. The bad advice is also Hatat. Pasuk Yod, Hitrapita biyom tsarat tsar kochacha. Very important pasuk. If you have become lax on the day of trouble, your strength will be weak indeed. This is talking about several things. First of all, the rabbis tell us it's talking about Torah, as they say, Kol hamitrape atzmo midivrei Torah en bo koach lamod be'et tzara. Whoever becomes lax, whoever becomes weak in Torah, when it comes to an et tzara, when it comes to a day of trouble, of misfortune, he will not be able to have, he will not have the strength to stand up. He will not have the protection, that's the simple meaning, to be able to withstand the tzara. As the rabbis also tell us, that when a person is weak in Torah, he does not learn Torah, the malachim don't come to give him strength when he needs the strength. Ordinarily we have malachim. That's what the Kabbalah explains. Those are the mitzvot that one performs. He creates malachim, they protect him, they give him strength, they give him encouragement. When a person mitrape becomes weak of Torah, he does not have that protection when he needs it the most. Be'et tzara. Another idea here is what the Gemara says. If you have become weak even in one mitzvah kala, when times of trouble come, you will not be able to have the koach to withstand the pressure of the tzara. Many people have given up. Many people have lost hope. Many people do not have the strength to continue during the difficult times. Their emunah was weak because they have weakened themselves in one particular area, in one mitzvah. Even one mitzvah, the Gemara says, afilu mitzvah kala. If a person becomes weak, he lets go, he loses strength to be able to deal with difficulties, with pressures in life, if they ever come during an et tzara. Another interpretation over here is itrapita biyom tzara tsar kochecha. If you have become lax on a day of trouble, your strength will be weak indeed. If you were able to help others in their time of misfortune and you did not, then when you will be in such a situation, nobody will come to help you. In other words, your strength will be weakened. Your position will be weakened as well. And that leads to the next pasuk, a very important pasuk. It's very interesting that he puts it here in Mishlei, because you would think it's obvious. And that is, Hatzel lekuchim lamavet umatim laherek im tachsoch. If you refrain from rescuing those taken to death and those on the verge of being slain, should someone refrain? Why would somebody refrain? Oh, I can't do anything. I can't do anything about it anyway. I'm too weak. I don't have any influence. A person should be very careful from having that kind of an attitude. He may be in a position to do something, to say something, and if he does not, that leads us to the next pasuk. Ki tomar hen lo yadanu zeh, halo tochen libot hu yavin venotzer nafshecha hu yeda ve'yeshiv le'adam kefa'olo. If you will say, behold, we did not know this. Is it not that he who counts hearts understands, and he who guards your soul knows, and he will requite a man according to his deed? In simpler English, don't ever say we didn't know. There's one who reads your heart and knows what's in your mind. He's the one that guards your soul, your neshama inside your body. He knows everything about you. He knows what you really were thinking, what you really were capable of doing, and he will ve'yeshiv le'adam kefa'olo, he will bring unto you what you deserve for not having done what you could have done. And you know what this reminds me of? Does anybody here have any idea how many Jews could have been saved during the Holocaust? Just with money. Just with money. There are a lot of guilty individuals. I'm not going to say names, and I'm not going to say where. It's not necessary. There are people who are mamash guilty of having been able to save Jews. Whether they would have succeeded or not, we don't know how much and how, whatever. But it was within their hands to save. And they valued animals more than the Jews. And I think most of you know what I'm talking about. Cows. No, I guess you're not familiar with the story. Yeah. What? Maybe you tell him.
Joel Brandt, you mean perfidy, Rabbi?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't animals, it was trucks. I think they were.
No, but there was an individual who expressed himself that one cow in Israel is worth more, than you know what. No, obviously there were some people who were not interested in bringing more religious Jews to Israel. And they did not do all they can to save these people. I'm not going to judge them because I don't know what was going on in their mind, but if it is exactly as it is told, it is a shame. It is a terrible shame, and Chilul Hashem, yeah. What is that? The book Perfidy. Yeah, it deals with that, sure. Yeah. But there were individuals throughout the history of the Jewish people who've had the ability to save Jews, to protect Jews, and did not do so for a variety of reasons. They will be judged, he says. And Hashem will deal with them as they deserve. Hashem knows the truth. They can't just say we couldn't. He knows the truth. He knows what was going on in their mind. Rabbis tell us also in this pasuk that when an individual is be'et sarah during difficult times, do not give up hope, do not be slack in praying, in doing all you can to help yourself. Just because things are bleak, don't give up. Pray. The Rabbis tell us pray. There is a story with a tzaddik who always used to pray for everybody, that they should be well, that Hashem should protect them, that they should be healthy. He prayed for everybody in his community. And one day, he got into a lot of trouble. And he was in great danger. And the Malachim came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and they said, this man always prayed for others be'et saratam, when they were in trouble. He deserves to be saved. He deserves to be protected. And Hashem says, yes, go ahead. And he was saved. This was his defense. In other words, they came out to his defense. This is what he did for others. He deserves the same. He prayed for others. They came out to help him in his time of need. Before we go on to the last two Pesukim or so that we're going to do today, just want to touch on a very important point that has to do with saving lives. Here we talked about saving physical lives. There's a pasuk that says as follows: Lo ta'amod al dam re'acha. Do not stand idly by your brother's blood. Now, even though that pasuk we also take it to mean physical danger, you're able to save your brother's life. The rabbis also say that this also means if you can help your brother get out of a terrible situation and you don't do anything about it, it's the same thing. You're standing by idly watching him fall spiritually. In other words, if you see your friend eating things that will harm him and he doesn't know that these things will harm him, you better tell him. If you see your friend committing an avirah and he does not realize that, and we gave a whole talk about when to say, what to say, under what circumstances to say, how to say it, to who to say, right? It all depends on what's being committed and who the individual is. But there's no doubt that Kol Yisrael Arevin Zelazeh, all Jews are responsible to a certain degree for each other. And if you have any degree of influence, and even if there's a chance that you may succeed, you obviously have the obligation of trying at least once, especially if it's something very serious. And therefore, whoever has that opportunity and does not do anything at all, he may have to give a reckoning. Why didn't he try at least once? Especially when we're dealing with family members, those who are within our sphere of influence, with those individuals who there is a chance, there is a true chance that one may succeed even a little bit to change the individual's way of life in some way, in some meaningful way. We have to try. Otherwise, it's called lo ta'amod al dam re'acha. You're standing by and not doing anything. Now, what happens if we try and we don't succeed? On that too, the pasuk says, "V'shiv le'adam kefa'olo." Hashem will reward him according to his efforts, even if he did not succeed. You know what? You tried, you get a reward for that too. Not only if you succeeded do you get a reward, but even if you didn't succeed, the fact that you tried.
You're supposed to try until they beat you, Rabbi, you said.
That all depends on what it is and with who it is. Yeah, not remember, I said before, it all depends with who it is and what it is.
It's a family member that you're close to.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, depending on what it is. Yeah. Echol beni devash kitov v'nofet matok al chikecha Eat honey, my son, for it is good, and the honeycomb is sweet to your palate. What does honey have to do with anything? Honey is associated also with chokhmah. Honey is sweet. And chokhmah is not only sweet when you eat it, it's also sweet on one's palate. In other words, even after you have finished eating, there's still some sweetness left. And that is what chokhmah is being compared to. Chokhmah is not only sweet, not only good as you're learning it, but once you've acquired it, once you possess it, it continues to be sweet. It is something that you will continuously enjoy. That is one of the interpretations over here. And he explains that in the following pasuk. Why is that? Why he's talking about honey? Because he's talking about chokhmah. Ken de'eh chokhmah lenafshecha im matzata v'yesh acharit v'tikvatcha lo tikaret. So too, know wisdom for your soul. If you have found it, you will have a future and your hope will not be cut off. In other words, he's comparing the honey to chokhmah because it continues to have a good taste even after you've eaten it. But he's also telling us that with this chokhmah, don't just eat it, don't just learn it because it's sweet. Remember that it has a true benefit to your soul, not only to your body. It is something that will remain with you. So our attitude, our approach should be not to learn chokhmah because it's sweet and good, but also because it's useful. And it's something that will last. And that is the point that he makes over here, that as opposed to everything else in this world, one may acquire things that are very sweet and beautiful, you don't take it with you. This chokhmah, yesh acharit, it has something for later too. This is something you take with you. This is not just something that you've learned, acquired, and you let go of. V'tikvatcha lo tikaret. And in the end, your hope will not be cut off. All that you have spent in acquiring this chokhmah will pay off, because this is the only thing one takes with him. All his ma'asim tovim, all his good deeds, all his chokhmah. This is what will speak up for him too upstairs. All the money, all the homes that he built, all the physical accomplishments that he has made in this world. What good is it for? You don't take it with you. A couple years we spend over here, we work so hard, and everything is left. If it's still there, if it hasn't been taken away by thieves or by the government through probate and through all these other vehicles that exist to taking away what the one has, and there's so many ways all this wealth can disappear, many ways. Yeah, and a person, works so hard, he sweats and gets aggravated for all these silly things. And what's more important than to learn another daf of Gemara, another halacha, another piece of Zohar? That is much more important, because that will go with him. That will accompany him. That will be in his account upstairs. That is safe forever. But people don't realize that. They work so hard to acquire all these physical acquisitions. What is that?
The kavarim they acquire. You said you have to acquire friends. The friends are important.
Right, that's also a spiritual connection that you want, because you want to be influenced by good people, because you want to work on yourself, because you want to be able to do the will of Hashem. So all of that is for the right causes. Yeah, but money should only be a means, not a goal. In other words, you need some money to survive. You need a roof over your heads. That's it, but not more than that. People overdo it. They exaggerate. You have to be very, very careful, because the line is not so clear on how much should you allow yourself. Because let's say a person has $10 million. Should he build himself a 3,000 square foot home? Or should he build himself a 10,000 square foot home? He's entitled to build himself something more than the one who only makes $50,000 a year. He's entitled, he's got the money. But he should be very, very careful not to overdo it, because you have to remember, whatever you do for yourself physically, you have to do as much, if not more, spiritually. So if you spend so much on yourself and buy yourself the best furniture, then you got to spend at least as much, if not more, in tzedakah, in helping those who don't have. If a person does everything equally, nobody will accuse him of having overdone it. But remember, the Yetzer Hara is very powerful, and the body has certain desires and interests and pleasures that it enjoys, it likes, and he could easily fall into this trap if he does not learn Torah. The Torah will teach him what is right and what is wrong, what is important, what's unimportant, what should be a priority. And besides all of that, the Chokhmah, the Torah will not only guide him, it will not only protect him, it is something that will remain with him after he departs from this world. B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll continue next week.